Hey guys, how we doing here? Another video from Cities and Suburbs. Good to have you along here. It is Tuesday night. Again, thank you to YouTube for the great non-copyrighted music, or written, or, you know, great music, great bumper music, not bumpa. If you're from Maine, it's bumpa. But anyway, hey, welcome aboard, guys. It's Kenny B here. It is July 21st, 2020. And just want to give you a quick check-in video tonight. And there's so much going on right now in terms of, we have baseball coming back. The Red Sox officially coming back tomorrow without fans, and I pardon for the glare on the computer, but I'll just glare on the computer. Anyway, let's focus on the content. Real quick video for you tonight, but so yeah, we have sports coming back. We have you know, America just screaming to open up. Meanwhile, the South of the United States, in terms of Florida, Arizona, Texas, are seeing flare-ups like you wouldn't believe with the COVID-19. The president assembled the band back together, if you will. Let's talk to Fauci today, from what I'm hearing. Donning a mask, all the precautions again. Very ambiguous leadership on how to deal with the coronavirus 19. I was reading interesting studies from the University of Wisconsin, the University of Hong Kong. It's an interdisciplinary and international approach in terms of conquering or at least understanding the coronavirus, COVID-19, and how that actually attaches itself. They're actually using hamsters in many studies. And you laugh at that, but go check it out, that the enzyme ACE2, a protein enzyme, found in humans, found in hamsters, and that little coily kind of like, kind of reminds me of when I was a kid. You know, you walk through the woods and those things would stick to you. Your picky bushes. We used to call them picky bushes. Couldn't get them off you, but they found a way to stick to you. And viruses disguise themselves sometimes as something friendly until your immune system actually picks them up. And then your T cells, and you heard a lot about T cells during the AIDS epidemic. They just weren't around during the AIDS epidemic, which is still around. You just don't hear about that. But the T cells are the cells that fight any invasion of a virus, something it doesn't understand. Sometimes the T cells can be taken over. Viruses are great at disguising themselves. That's how they enter your body. You know, they're spies, they're opportunists. So they're saying that 3 companies, by the time 3 companies, 3 pharmaceutical corporations, Pfizer leading the way, but there'll be many more behind it, trying to find a way to a vaccine for the coronavirus. At the end of the day, if there is one developed, then the company is going to have to find a way to charge you or your doctors or your health plan. Man, it just gets crazy. It just gets, you know, beyond me. You know, I mean, I go every year and I get a flu shot. It's free, but is it really? I mean, my health plan is paying for it. Ultimately, that money comes from my pocket. I know who's paying my health bills and my health care bills, but in Massachusetts, we can say that there are 107,000 to date, 221 confirmed cases. This is from massgov.com, I believe. I'm sorry, mass.gov, not .com. There have been 1,052,369 individuals tested in Massachusetts for the coronavirus. Our rates are going down. We have crushed that curve. I did hear someone say the other day that I work with, well, it's because we're a blue state, we're doing things right. Well, you know, what's up with California? You know, Seattle, you know? Seattle, Portland, California. I mean, are we really looking at that? Too busy in the streets doing, you know, our rallies, our protesting, which is not coming out too well from what I understand. Just saying that. But the big thing with Worcester tonight, I wanted to keep it local. I have to give a hand to the city manager, Ed Augustus, Maureen Benenda, superintendent of schools, Mayor Joe Petty. Sent a real scathing letter to, a real pointed letter to Spectrum/Charter. There were still 2,100 school students, identified as school students that do not have internet access. And this is a problem too in suburban communities. I mean, I work with a lot of people who live in very rural areas, and there is no internet access at all. You're being told to work at home. What do you do if you're out in, you know, New Braintree or some of these really, you know, Florence, Mass, or I mean, I'm just naming really, you know, really kind of one-horse towns, and they should stay one-horse towns. That's who they are, and that's their heritage, and that's the history of our cities. They should be who they are. That being said, I think nowadays having internet and communication on a broader level, good broadband, good broadband speed should be available everywhere. So the city of Worcester, you know, Charter Spectrum, Spectrum Charter, whoever they'll be next year, said that, you know, they shouldn't be penalized. Students should not be penalized, okay, for having the misfortune of living in a city served by your company. Now that's what Ed Augustus said. So what the problem is that Worcester City Manager Ed Augustus, and I've met Mr. City Manager Augustus, and he's totally a great leader and a good manager. He said that today in a letter signed by Benenda, Mayor Petty, Superintendent Maureen Benenda, was that Charter Spectrum was one of the worst companies. This is from Ed Augustus. He's dealt with while serving in the city. Okay, he made those statements public. I heard it on the radio this morning. City Manager Ed Augustus tells us that Spectrum is the worst, least responsive, and least community-oriented company he has ever. Now, this dude's got experience. This guy's, okay, he's a somebody that he's ever worked with during his time as the city manager. He calls them, Spectrum, completely indifferent toward the needs of the community. Now, back a few months ago, again, this is all around how are we going to educate our kids. City council meeting last night. Actually, what was the date today? actually, tonight's a city council meeting, but last night was a meeting specifically around the school committee and how are we going to return our young folk back to, you know, in school / virtual environment. Okay, so I think what the city council agreed on was 2 days in school, 3 days off. That being said, you still need to be connected to this. This is, let me see this. This is what they call the internet, and I feel that's essential. That is essential. You know, you don't see phone booths around anymore. You don't. They have been stripped because of. I could go get my cell phone for you. So there are 2,100 households right now that do not have the access to the internet. The city is looking for a flat plan, kind of like a flat tax, but a flat plan from Spectrum. They said, no, your time's up, man. You know? Meanwhile, the city's gone out and bought, 4,100 Chrome notebook pads for its students of 25,000 students, probably plus. A lot of them special needs too. We can't forget about the special needs students that still deserve an education. My mom did that as a school psychologist for years. They still deserve and are mandated to have an education, mandated. It's a tall ask to ask a company that says, okay, let's look at Charter Communications. As of July, its net worth was $132.44 billion. Okay, fourth largest communication company. All right, who knows what's under that umbrella? Comcast, which the city manager noted in its letter, saying that Comcast or other broadband cable providers have been much friendlier to other communities, and that we are only served by you, Charter, which it's a joke. There's no there's no competition with any of this stuff. The communication industry. That's because they're all brothers. There's like 6 companies holding, all your information and, radio, whatever it would be. I don't want to be too liberal and going out on a boat saying that, well, the CEOs are satisfied. Who cares about 2,100 students in some small city in Massachusetts, Worcester? Well, it's not a small city. It's 2,100 households, God knows, and multiply that number, that are our future. So the city manager really sent a scathing letter. I would think a company would be able to come to terms with a city like Worcester, but where else are we going to go? Maybe the city needs to negotiate different contracts with different providers, but it depends on who controls the lines. I have Verizon broadband here in Charlton, Massachusetts. I do not have, I have whatever Verizon is. I'm working over an old phone line. Okay, I do not have broadband. I've tried installing Charter Spectrum into my home. I don't care if you guys flag me or not. Charter flag. They came into my home and they could not find a hotspot and wanted me to go wireless, this and that. And then I thought, man, is there another better version for me personally as a homeowner? I don't want my phone number and my phone rings and it comes over my TV screen. I don't need that. So the whole thing needs to be, the whole communications systems, I think, between the internet, your computer at home, your TV, this all bundle me. So we have Spectrum coming in and So now the city, I mean, I read that letter and I'd be glad to post it down below, and I will post it down below. But I read that letter. I said, "Whoa, man! The city manager. He's got a real case of the ass. He is not happy." Met with the man several times. He's passionate about Worcester. The bottom line is, right now we are in tonight. The president, reassembled the band again. You know, the coronavirus task force. He's got the mask on. Now we're in deep doo-doo again. No one knows what we're doing. Know what's going on with this virus. Come the fall, we're going to have to deal with influenza. We're going to have to deal with the regular flu, regular stuff that's going on. I think the companies, I don't want to be, I'm not a liberal. And companies, they make their profit, but let's look at our communities. And Spectrum had said, they sent a letter saying that, they weren't going to fine anybody, charge late fees, if you couldn't pay because of corona hardship. That was on June 30th. That ended, extended into July. So after that, it sounds like that if there are 2,100 students, families, households with students, okay, regardless of the age, come late August that are due to go back to school, and you don't have the technology, then that's up to you, man. You go out, buy your own stuff. You go, get yourself hooked up. That's why the school departments have to own this. They have to own this. The city's asking our communication systems throughout the United States, meaning, broadband, cell phone, this mainly is the most interactive thing we can have with our kids. We owe it to our children, and I'm calling out the companies too. We owe it to our children, our future, for them to have an education, a proper education, not just a feeble one, not that just given to them. Here's your laptop, okay? I'm Spectrum, I did my job. I'm making $150 billion this year. My God, okay, you're great. People are trading in and buying stocks, and I get how those companies drive the economy. Those 6, companies drive the economy, but we're looking on a local level, and like I said, just like anybody shouldn't go without food, people shouldn't go without money. They should not go out without the internet is not a modern convenience. Okay, you can go out with Snapchat and Facebook, and there's so much stuff out there that, but essentially, what do you need this for, essentially? And Charter Spectrum has said, well, we're providing you this at the bandwidth, so many, 30 BPH, it's like, wow, you have to actually, Worcester has gone out and bought, 500 hotspots. Boy, oh boy, and Worcester has not even figured out its annual budget yet. As someone who works in the city of Worcester for an agency who helps underprivileged, underserved individuals find employment, many whom that work for the city of Worcester have not been back to work yet, and the city has not lined up its budget yet for the upcoming year. I mean, there's so many fish to fry, so many, we're juggling here, and we're dropping, we're juggling, but I will give kudos to the city manager for standing by, the citizens of Worcester, the mayor of Worcester for standing by, the city citizens of Worcester, and Maureen Benenda, who's a great superintendent of schools, knows Worcester, lives Worcester, breathes Worcester, as do the mayor and the city manager. They are pulling this train, okay? They are pulling this train. They are, they need our help, support them. Let's talk to Charter. spectrum, and the letter kind of shocked me. I mean, it was really pointed, but those are the times we're in. The letter was really pointed from the city, you know, no holes barred. Big challenge to charter spectrum. We'll see how that comes out. But our kids should not be underserved. That's what makes our cities great. You can't. Education is paramount in a community. Okay, if you do not have a good educational system, I said this 3 years ago. You'll say it today. If you have a child, you know it. Education is paramount. That's where you're. You know, I think almost 68% of your tax dollars in Worcester right now go to fund the school system. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that's where a majority of residential taxes go to, whether you have a kid or not. All right? So that's where it goes to. And I've heard some people holding back their residential tax because I don't have kids. Why should I pay that? You're taking my money, but school's not in. It's more than that. It's a lot more than that. There's pensions, there's funding, there's salaries. So it's a big, complicated problem. The city needs every break it could get. This is a perfect time for commercial enterprises, for-profit enterprises, to work with city municipalities wherever they are. With the remembrance that the driving force is our future, which is our children, proper education in this case. Let me know what you guys think. And I'm gonna ditch out. And this is Kenny B here saying peace.